privilege of recognizing Carroll Richardson as our Blind Employee of the Year. Carroll Richardson, employed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, will be accompanied by Superintendent of State Office Buildings, John Billerow. Carroll works as a coordinator of ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, at the State House Office Building, a position he has held for the past 5.5 years. He's the first person to serve in this newly created position, which grew out of the Commonwealth's requirement to provide greater access to the State House for persons of all disabilities. In his role, Carroll must provide for the general accessibility to the building, as well as the accessibility to all activities and services taking place within the State House. Since this is the People's Building, it means that everyone should have full access to it. This includes providing interpretive services for persons who are deaf or hard of hearing, wheelchair access, access for persons who are blind or visually impaired, and virtually any person with a disability, whether it's hidden or visible, who wishes to gain access to the facility or to hearings and programs that are taking place in the building. He is also responsible for the accessibility of the State House website. A significant part of Carroll's job requires accessibility awareness training for all frontline State House staff, including court offices and Park Service rangers. As part of his awareness training, Carroll will often remind others of his mantra, to always treat everyone with respect and dignity. His efforts are made more challenging when dealing with the cultural and historical aspects of building modifications while maintaining the character of a building that is over 200 years old. Carroll is always accompanied by his guide dog Kinley, and a very well-known figure around the State House, almost bordering on being the unofficial mayor of the State House, which only helps in the awareness and understanding of persons with a disability. Some of Carroll's recent accessibility projects include the installation of new assisted listening devices and cameras in all 4 hearing rooms. He's installed new ramps at stairways and introduced a new wayfinding system on the State House telephone system called Click and Go, which initially is for blind visitors to simply call to ask directions to a location from the calling point, but is useful to everyone, making it part of a universal design. Although Carroll is deeply committed to providing full ADA access to all disabled persons, he feels that just covering the legal requirements of accessibility is not enough. He is more personally committed to addressing the spirit of the law and will often go above and beyond the call of duty whenever he finds a disabled person who may need additional support to have full access. Carroll realizes that he needs to be the liaison between the ADA law and its acceptance by others in the building, hopefully not having to invoke legal requirements to make changes, but rather to win over their support through explanation and understanding in order to adopt his solutions. As an outgoing, gregarious person by nature, Carroll has easily adopted the art of politics as it applies to his arena, and his teamwork approach to solutions has been most effective. He's made special efforts to work collaboratively with a variety of stakeholders to ensure full facility and program accessibility. As the various disability groups have learned to become more proactive in delivering their message to legislators, oftentimes with special receptions and awareness days, Carroll's is always front and center, ready to accommodate everyone. Carroll was born with Usher syndrome, which began with a hearing loss in his early childhood years, and as he grew older, it gradually affected his vision. This combination made him particularly sensitive to the needs of persons who are vision impaired and those who are hearing impaired. Carroll grew up in Framingham as one of 4 children and attended the Boston School for the Deaf until he was 10 years old. From 5th grade on, he attended public school, where his vision was adequate for most activities, but he had to make some adjustments to allow for his hearing loss in order to be successful in the classroom. He graduated from Marion High School and went on to Emerson College, where he majored in filmmaking. Now Carroll was well aware that the progression of Usher syndrome usually results in significant vision loss. Yet he had a passion for film. He wanted to follow his dream and was encouraged by his parents to do so. So So after graduation, Carl went off to Hollywood to work in the film industry. He worked on the sets of several movies and supplemented his income between movie jobs by working at Universal Studios theme park. He learned much from his Hollywood movie experiences, and living independently far from home gave him the confidence he needed to further explore his future potential. His increased vision loss and the inability to drive in LA, however, made it more difficult to get around. And after a couple of years, he returned to the Boston area and with a new sense of self-confidence moved into his own apartment in the city. He then obtained a job at the Museum of Science as an associate in fundraising. With his vision getting worse, especially at night, he received mobility training from the Carroll Center, enabling him to safely navigate throughout the city of Boston, day and night. While at the museum, his passion for working in the film and television industry never left him. He focused on getting a job at WGBH-TV, and admits that he would call WGBH regularly to explore any job possibilities. When a job in marketing opened up in the media access group, Carl was quick to arrive for an interview and was hired soon after. His persistence paid off. He was very excited to be closer now to his life's passion of film and television. After 3.5 years of success at GBH, financial cutbacks in the media access department resulted in the elimination of his position. Very disappointed but not discouraged, Carl picked himself up and used his well-developed skills of persistence and survival to seek new employment. Throughout his life, Carl had to make the choice of complaining about the difficult hand life had dealt him, or using his best effort to do something about it. Carl chose the latter. He credits this approach from his parents, who always encouraged him to explore his full potential, not shield him from life's realities, but to learn from them. His father told him as a child that everyone has some disability. It's how you deal with it that sets you apart. Carl went on several job interviews, always following any lead he could to find employment. He used each job interview and even the rejections as a learning experience, drawing a lesson from each. With support from the Commission for the Blind, he attended the Carroll Center's computer training to upgrade his computer skills for greater employability. For each employer who informed Carl that he did not get the job, he followed up with the interviewer to learn what he could do better to improve his presentation at future interviews. Although it would have been very easy to get discouraged, Carl used the job searching experience to improve himself for the next opportunity. That opportunity arrived when he learned that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts was interviewing for a newly created position of ADA coordinator. Carl was well positioned for the job. He was accustomed to advocating for himself his whole life and adjusting to the special challenges of his dual disability of hearing and vision loss. His marketing experience prepared him for dealing with individuals and with organizations. The State House needed someone with such skills, and after several interviews, Carl convinced them that he was the best person for the job and was hired. In his role, Carl is able to utilize his skills and experience in self-advocacy to now share them for the benefit of others who are disabled. Carl has had a significant impact on the accessibility of the State House, physically through architectural modifications, as well as through accessible technology, interpreters, and other access programs, and State House staff training to best accommodate disabled visitors. Carl has been active in the disability community, including having been a member of the Rehab Advisory Council at the Commission for the Blind, the Deaf-Blind Consumer Advisory Committee, the Bay State Council of the Blind, the Foundation Fighting Blindness, the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities, where he is the current chairman, and the Guide Dog Users Group of Massachusetts. He is also being recognized later today for being a 20-year member of the Framingham Lions Club, and I know there are many lions in the audience. Thank you for coming. Carl lives in Brighton with his wife Megan Sullivan, and their 2 dogs, and when not involved in accessibility issues, he enjoys trips to the Cape in the summer and skiing with the Carroll Center Outdoor Enrichment Program in the winter. He still enjoys the cinema and is a proud Boston sports fan, especially the Red Sox, where he attends several games. Carl is highly respected by his colleagues and associates at the State House, who also appreciate Carl's easygoing, affable style and good sense of humor. He's able to take a potential adversity situation and turn it around into a positive, light to successfully accomplish the Accessibility Challenge. Carl has proven to be an invaluable resource to the State House, introducing significant improvements in a short period of time to make the State House accessible to all. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce the recipient of the Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment as the 2012 Blind Employee of the Year, Carl O. Richardson. Carl up to the podium to say a few words, share a few words with us, Carl. Sorry.
I wasn't listening.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Well, can we fire the president or what? All right, you can all go home. We got a Celtic game to go to. No, I'm kidding. First of all, let me just say, as I was listening to the other accomplishments of the other reward recipients, Stephen, Caroline, and Amy, I was very humbled by the fact that I'm being inducted at the same time that such amazing advocates are being inducted, so I'm just very humbled by that. And before I go much further, there's something I have to do which I promised someone about 25 years ago when I was at Emerson College that I would do if I ever won a major award. Now mind you, she was talking about the Academy Award, but I remember my mother saying to me, if you ever win an award, the Academy Award, when you go up to make your accommodation speech, I want you to say, thank you to your mother. And I am here, I am here to say, Mom, but I also have to add the love of my life and life partner, Megan Sullivan, in that speech. I am here to say thank you to my mom and Megan, and I also want to thank my father, who is very inspirational. He's no longer with us, but I know he's here in spirit, and I've been thinking about him all day, so I want to thank him as well. Now, because I work at the State House and it's all about politics, I have a lot of people to thank. I would like to thank Governor Patrick and the executive branch, the Massachusetts Legislature, which is the House of Representatives and the Senate, and the Bureau of State Office Buildings, and Superintendent John Valera for all their support and dedication, because I could not do this by myself. It's not without their support and their wish to make the services and programs and activities accessible to all that I couldn't do my job. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows it's a team effort. Now, I'm very excited because as I look around this room, not only do I see a lot of former Carroll Society winners and John Carroll Award winners, but I also see, no doubt, my man, future recipients. And I have no doubt, and I can look across the room and see half a dozen of them at least, and future leaders in the blind community. So I thought if everybody would give me a few minutes of liberty here, I'd like to talk to them about what I think it takes to be a good employee and make it. Because when I heard I got this award, I started thinking about it, and I've actually talked to a few other recipient winners who I happen to had the honor of being friends with, and they were mentors in my life, so that, and I think we all have in common certain characteristics of why we're able to work with others to succeed in life. And I think it really breaks down into three different components. One is you don't do it alone. It's impossible. And I actually think the three areas of components I'm going to recommend is for everybody, whether you're a person with a disability or not. I really have the belief that we're not that much different than anybody else. As Dina said in my speech, my father always said everybody's got problems. You just have to deal with it. You know, and so I really believe whether you have a disability or not, we all have issues. I don't mean issues, but I mean we all have challenges. we all have challenges to overcome. So the first one is you don't do it alone. And remember that as you're along in your journey. And when you're working, if you have a weakness, reach out with someone who has a strength in that area and work with them. If you have a strength, promote that. When you're going for a job, don't say, woe with me, please give me a job because I'm blind. No, say, this is what I can do for you if you hire me, and this is what I will do for you. You know, promote yourself. So remember, you don't do it alone, and you need everybody to work with you in order to be successful. The second thing is, and this kind of dovetails with the first, is seek out mentors. Ask for advice, especially if the mentor you're seeking out is a manager. They love to give advice. So, but all kidding aside, seek out a mentor. It can be a person, and there's several people in here in this room I'm proud to call a mentor. Brian Charlton, Paul Singer, Joe Yee, Kim Charlton, even Ed Bell. We'll allow him in the group because he's not blind, but and he's the CIO at the State House. His only disability is he thinks he's human challenge. But I'm proud to call him as a mentoring friend, and so seek out a mentor. If you don't know it, don't be afraid to ask. It was Louis B. Mayer who was the chief of MGM Studios for over 40 years, and this is where my expensive film degree, Mom, comes in handy. I can quote it. He said, never be afraid to hire someone who is smarter than you are. You can only learn from them. And I think that's true. So if you're somebody you respect, seek out them out and ask them how they do it, and ask to work with them. And I'm trying to remember what my third component was. Oh, I finally remembered. Don't be afraid to fail. You have to fail now and then, and you have to put yourself out. And it doesn't have to be a big thing when I say that. It can be as simple as take it very challenging for visual impaired. By the time the day starts, they've gone through more than most. But it can be as simple as taking a bus to somewhere you've never been and learning how to do orientation and mobility. Or learning a new assistive technology. And by the time all those small things add up, you'll be able to take on the big thing. Don't be afraid to lose SSDI if it means you're going to get a full-time job. Losing SSDI simply means you're going to make too much money. I mean, don't be afraid to fail. It was, one of my dad's favorite people in history, my dad and I were both history buffs, and one of my dad's favorite people in history was Winston Churchill. So I recently read a biography on Winston Churchill, and I'm going to paraphrase him a little bit. And he said, the definition of success is the ability to move from failure to failure with enthusiasm. So that kind of, I hope you don't mind me talking to who I have no doubt in my mind will be future recipients into the Carroll Society. And then there's one more thing. Well, one group I forgot to thank earlier on when I was doing my thank you, the disability community at large. It's not without them coming into the building and watching them advocate for themselves and watching them have a voice that I wouldn't do my job. And I don't want Superintendent Belair to hear this, but I get a kick out of watching them come into the building and advocate. I'd probably do my job for free. But I still want that raise, John. But seriously, without the disability community, you guys are what drives me. You guys are what keeps me going. And I won't forget that. So I hope, like I said, I'm proud and honored to be here with this group, and I hope to see you guys around. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl. Those were very inspirational words, I think, for everybody in the audience. I do want to recognize that we are all a team. I want to thank all the community members and all the people who are behind the scenes.